No, I'm very grateful to have you here. I hope you'll still be able to see me as just an ordinary old lady.
Is there any questions from the audience? Yes, or Linda, go ahead. Yes.
Maybe you could say a little bit about your mother's journey after the war, about your mom, what she went through, and how she, when she passed away, and just how she handled where she stayed.
It wasn't easy for her, I'll have to say. It was not an easy journey. Researchers are finding more and more that surviving was the first challenge. Getting through and getting through the difficult times, there was only one goal. You had to survive. You had to sustain yourself till the next day. But then survival was, it's like when you pull somebody out from a 5-year or a 10-year sentence in a prison, and then there's nothing, there's no continuity in life. My mother had a hard time. She came to America with none of the skills that were necessary for success. And she was a widow with 2 young children. In the 1950s, that was not a status symbol. A single woman with 2 young children with not many skills didn't count for much. She managed to send us to school. We both got educated in New York City in the public educational system. My mother had the nachas of seeing her grandchildren being born, which was like the next generation in her life. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed with a pancreatic cancer at the age of 58. And so she had, her half-life didn't last long. In astronomy, they talk about half-lives. But she was always the fighter, and she managed to learn how to live in New York City. She worked for the public library for a number of years as what they call the page. The people would bring back books. In the Bronx, New York, the public library had equal space for Yiddish books and Hebrew books and prayer books as they did for Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. So my mother knew how to read the spine of the books that were in Yiddish, and she was familiar with some of the authors. And so she got her little job in that capacity. And we felt very much like so many young people now feel, the expats in Atlanta feel they want to bring their parents to live with them in their old age. So my husband and I wanted very much to bring my mother down to Atlanta. But unfortunately, the Malhamadas beat us to it, so she didn't make it, but she's buried in Crest Lawn Cemetery. And she finished her job. She had a job to do, and she finished her job. She was a member of a shul in Brooklyn. Anyway.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Don't be afraid.
So Paula, how did your mother manage to get to the United States? Get into?
There was a process in the DP camps. You had to show that you were a displaced person, that you had been through the war. You filled out forms upon forms of the dates that you were in this concentration camp, in that one. So we were refugees, and refugees had the right to repatriate. The Ukrainian refugees and the Polish refugees and the Czech refugees all wanted to go back to their own home. They wanted to reclaim their shtetl, or their town. But the Jewish people, by and large, did not have any, they had no stomach for going back to the towns, the cities that locked up their shuls and desecrated their cemeteries and confiscated their stuff, even the utensils in their kitchen so they insisted. They said to the United Nations and all the commissions that came to solve the Jewish problem, they came and said, we are not going. And they asserted themselves. Mostly it was the Hungarians, which were the Hungarian Jews, remained a stable force because they all were deported late in the war, very late towards the end, and they had power in numbers. There's power, and they had guidance and authorities. So they insisted that they did not want to share concentration camps with Germans and Russians and all of those persecuted collaborators, and they got that. And then in the end,